Hello and welcome to Catchy English. My name is Emma, and today I want to share with you a story that has inspired millions of people around the world. It is not just any story, it is the real story of how Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and one of the most famous entrepreneurs in the world, learned English. Now, why is this story so powerful? Because Jack Ma was not born into wealth. He was not born in an English-speaking country. He did not have expensive schools or private teachers. He was just like you and me, an ordinary student, sometimes struggling, sometimes failing, but never giving up. And yet he found a way to master English, to use it as a tool, and to change his life completely. When we think about learning English, many of us feel nervous. We worry about grammar pronunciation exams, and even what people will think when we make mistakes. But Jack Ma's journey shows us something different. He shows us that English is not just a subject in school. It is a bridge that can connect you to the world, to opportunities, and to a bigger future. So let's go back in time. Jack Ma was born in Hangzhou, China in 1964. At that time, China was not as open to the world as it is today. For many young people, the idea of meeting foreigners hearing English or even traveling abroad was almost impossible. But Jack Ma was curious. He was not the best student. In fact, he failed many exams in school. He failed the entrance exam for middle school twice. He failed the university entrance exam twice. He even applied to dozens of jobs and was rejected almost every time. But one thing set him apart. He had a strong desire to connect with the world. And English became his key. How did he start? Not in a classroom, not with a textbook. Jack Ma began learning English by going to a hotel in his hometown. Every morning from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., he rode his bicycle to the Hangzhou Hotel, where tourists from America, Europe, and Australia stayed. He offered them free tours of the city. Free. Can you imagine that a teenager waking up at 5 in the morning just to practice English with strangers without getting paid? Why did he do it? Because he knew that if he wanted to improve, he had to use English, not just study it. This is the first big lesson from Jack Ma's story: fall in love with English and practice it with real people. Many students treat English like math. They memorize grammar rules like formulas, subject plus verb, plus tense, plus exception. But let me ask you, did you learn your first language with a grammar book? Did your mother hand you a textbook when you were a baby? Of course not. You learned by listening, speaking, making mistakes, and repeating. That is exactly what Jack Ma did. He didn't have money for classes. He didn't have apps, YouTube, or online dictionaries. What he had was courage. He would walk with tourists, show them around, and ask them questions like, "What does this word mean?" or "How do you pronounce that?" And the tourists corrected him kindly. Sometimes he made funny mistakes. Once he told a lady she was very hot, thinking it meant beautiful. The woman laughed, and so did he. But he didn't feel ashamed. He used every mistake as a chance to grow. That brings us to the second big lesson: don't be afraid of sounding silly. You will sound silly sometimes. You will make people laugh. But every time you make a mistake, your brain gets stronger, your skills get sharper, and your confidence grows. Jack Ma once tried to say the word beach, but his pronunciation sounded like a very different word, one that was embarrassing. People laughed, but he laughed too. And then he tried again. That's why today, when you hear Jack Ma speak in English, he is confident. His grammar is not perfect. His accent is strong. But he speaks with courage and sincerity, and people listen. Now, let's think about you. Are you willing to wake up earlier or spend extra time practicing English, even when it feels uncomfortable? Are you ready to laugh at your mistakes instead of hiding from them? Because that is exactly what Jack Ma did. He turned every small mistake into a step forward. He turned every conversation with a tourist into a free English lesson. Jack Ma often said that when you learn a language, you must be shameless. You must be willing to sound like a confused robot to be laughed at and to try again. He knew that if he stayed quiet, if he waited until his English was perfect, he would never improve. But by opening his mouth even with broken sentences, he gained experience. Think about this today. You have YouTube, Netflix, podcasts, apps, and even AI tutors. Jack Ma had none of these. He had a bicycle, a hotel, and his own determination. If he could build his English skills with so little, imagine what you can do with the resources you have now. Jack Ma's mornings at the hotel were not just about learning words. They were about learning courage. They taught him that English is not just about grammar, it's about connection. Every tourist he spoke to gave him a window into another culture. Every mistake taught him humility. Every laugh reminded him that learning could also be fun. And slowly, without noticing, his English improved. He didn't just memorize vocabulary, he lived the language. So the first part of Jack Ma's English journey gives us two clear lessons. Number 1, fall in love with English, make it part of your life, and use it with real people. Number 2, don't be afraid of mistakes. In fact, celebrate them, because they are the proof that you are learning. As Jack Ma kept meeting tourists every morning at the hotel, something began to change. At first, his English was broken. He spoke slowly sometimes with the wrong words, sometimes with confusing sentences. But over time, the tourists noticed his improvement. They were surprised by his curiosity, his energy, and his determination. Imagine this young boy not asking for money, not asking for gifts, but only asking, "Can you correct my English? Can you teach me how to say this word?" Because of this attitude, many tourists respected him. Some even became his friends. One of them from Australia became very close to him. Jack Ma guided this tourist around Hangzhou for free, just like he did with everyone else. Later, this tourist invited him to visit Australia. For Jack Ma, who had never been outside of China, this was an incredible opportunity. And all of it happened because of English. This teaches us something important. English is not just about passing exams or getting high scores. It is about building connections. Every time you speak English with someone, you open a new door. You never know which door will lead to a new opportunity. For Jack Ma, speaking English with tourists at the hotel opened a door to the outside world, to friendships, and to experiences that changed his life. But remember, Jack Ma did not become fluent overnight. He worked for years. He practiced every day. And he enjoyed the process. He once said that learning English was like falling in love with a person. When you are in love, you don't count the hours. You don't feel tired. You simply enjoy every moment. That is how he felt about English. He was not forcing himself. He was curious. He was excited. Now, let me ask you a question. How do you see English? Do you see it as a subject that you must study? Or can you learn to see it as something exciting, something that makes your world bigger? If you only study English for exams, you may pass, but you will forget it soon after. But if you study English to live, to watch movies, to talk with people, to explore the world, then English will stay with you forever. Jack Ma's experience also shows the importance of setting big goals. When he was young, his goal was not simply to get a high score on a test. His goal was to talk with people from different countries, to understand them, to see the world through their eyes. Later, his dream grew bigger. He wanted to give speeches in English to share his ideas with the world. And guess what? Years later, he stood on international stages at Harvard, Stanford, the United Nations, and he gave speeches in English. Was his English perfect? No. Was his accent strong? Yes. But people listened because he spoke with passion, with clarity, and with sincerity. Here lies another lesson. Don't focus too much on perfection. Focus on communication. Jack Ma never waited to speak until his English was flawless. If he had waited, he would still be waiting today. Instead, he used the English he had. Even if it was simple, even if it was broken, even if it made people laugh sometimes. And slowly, word by word, sentence by sentence, he grew more confident. I want you to imagine this for yourself. Imagine you're at an English corner or in a conversation class, or even just talking to a stranger online. You don't need to sound perfect. You don't need to use long, complicated sentences. You just need to speak with courage. Even a simple, "Hello, how are you?" can open a new door. And over time, as you repeat this process, you will grow. Jack Ma often compared learning English to climbing a mountain. It is not a straight staircase. It is not smooth or easy. Sometimes you fall. Sometimes you roll back down. Sometimes you feel tired and want to stop. But if you keep moving even slowly, you will still go higher. You will look back one day and laugh at your mistakes, just as Jack Ma laughed at his. Let me share with you one more story from Jack Ma's learning journey. Sometimes when he looks back at his old recordings tapes of himself speaking English when he was just beginning, he laughs. He says he sounded like a confused GPS, giving wrong directions in strange English. But instead of feeling embarrassed, he feels proud. Because every mistake was a sign of progress. Every wrong word was a step toward better communication. This is exactly how you should see your own English. Don't be afraid of old mistakes. Don't hide from your past attempts. Be proud of them. They show that you are on the journey, that you are climbing the mountain, that you are moving upward, even if it feels slow. And here is something that makes your journey even easier than Jack Ma's today. You have tools he never had. When he was young, there was no internet, no YouTube, no language apps, no podcasts, no AI teachers. He learned English the hard way, through cassettes, through real-life conversations, through courage. But you have a smartphone in your hand. You can watch movies with subtitles. You can listen to podcasts. You can join online communities. You can even talk to AI like me. So you have no excuse. If Jack Ma could succeed with so little, imagine what you can do with so much. So far, Jack Ma's journey gives us 3 main lessons. First, practice with real people because English is about connection. Second, don't be afraid of mistakes because mistakes are part of learning. Third, set big goals. Not just exam goals, because English is a bridge to your dreams, not just a grade on paper. And the most important thing, enjoy the process. Fall in love with English. Laugh at your mistakes. Celebrate your progress. Because one day, just like Jack Ma, you may find yourself speaking on a stage, writing to people across the world, or building something bigger than you ever imagined, all because you chose to keep going one word at a time. As Jack Ma's English improved, something remarkable began to happen. His world started to grow bigger. Remember when he was a teenager in Hangzhou? The city was still quite closed to the outside world. Many people around him had never spoken to a foreigner. But Jack Ma was different. Because of his daily practice at the hotel, he not only improved his English, but also built connections with people from around the world. One of the most important connections came from the Australian family he met. After becoming friends with them, Jack Ma was invited to Australia. This was his very first trip outside of China. Imagine this for a moment, a young boy who had only seen his hometown suddenly traveling across the ocean to a new country, experiencing a new culture, hearing English everywhere. It was like stepping into a whole new universe. That trip changed Jack Ma forever. He saw that the world was much bigger than what he had known. He realized that English was not just a school subject, not just a tool for exams. It was the key to stepping into a wider world. Without English, that door would have stayed closed. But because he had worked so hard to practice, because he had been brave enough to talk with strangers, the door opened. This brings us to another powerful lesson. English is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It is about access. Access to people, access to information, access to opportunities that would otherwise remain invisible. When you learn English, you are not just learning words, you are unlocking doors. Think about it. Today, almost all international business is conducted in English. The biggest research papers, global conferences, and online resources are mostly in English. If you want to study abroad, travel work for a multinational company, or even start your own business that reaches people outside your country, English is the bridge that takes you there. Jack Ma understood this early. He didn't dream small. He didn't say, "I just want to pass my English exam." He dreamed bigger. He said, "I want to speak with people from around the world. I want to understand their ideas. I want to connect China with the global community." This mindset changed everything for him. Of course, the road was never smooth. Jack Ma failed many times. He failed middle school exams. He failed university entrance exams. Later, he was rejected from jobs again and again, even from simple jobs like working at KFC. But because he had English, he had something many others did not, a bridge to the world. He could learn directly from foreign teachers, foreign books, and foreign friends. He was able to see beyond his immediate environment. This is something you can apply too. Many learners think English is only for passing tests. But if you change your perspective, if you see English as a way to access knowledge, relationships, and opportunities, your motivation will completely change. You will no longer study because you must. You will study because you want to, because you see the treasure waiting for you on the other side. When Jack Ma returned from Australia, he carried this global perspective with him. It gave him confidence. Later, when he first heard about the internet in the 1990s, He was fascinated. But in China at that time, very few people even knew what the internet was. So, how did he learn through English? The websites he first saw were in English. The articles he read were in English. His ability to understand English gave him a first look at the future that others around him could not see. This was a turning point. Jack Ma realized that if China wanted to connect to the future, it had to connect to the internet. And if it wanted to connect to the internet, it had to connect to English. That's why when he started Alibaba, his vision was never only about China. It was about building a global platform, a place where businesses from China could trade with businesses all over the world. Without English, this vision would have been impossible. Here is the lesson for you. English is not just about speaking correctly. It is about seeing more, learning more, and thinking bigger. When you can read articles, watch videos, and listen to podcasts in English, you are not limited to what is available in your language. You are connected to a global library, a global classroom, a global conversation. Jack Ma often told young people that they should be bold in setting goals. Don't just aim for small targets like, I want to pass my next English test. Aim for something that scares you a little, something that excites you. Say, one day I will give a presentation in English. One day I will study abroad. One day I will build a business that serves international customers. These big goals will push you to go further, just like they pushed Jack Ma. Of course you might feel scared. You might think, but my English is not good enough. I make too many mistakes. My accent is too strong. That's normal. Jack Ma felt the same way too. His English was never perfect. Even today when he speaks, you can hear his accent. But here's the truth, people listen to him anyway. Why? Because he speaks with confidence, with heart, and with clarity. He focuses on communication, not perfection. And that is exactly what you should do. Don't wait for perfect English. Don't wait for the day when you will make 0 mistakes. That day will never come. Instead, speak now, write now, practice now. Use the English you already have, and let it grow through use, just like Jack Ma did. Think about this when he was giving tours to foreigners as a teenager. His English was very simple. But those conversations were the foundation. Later, when he gave speeches at universities and the United Nations, his English was much stronger. But he only reached that point because he started with small, simple broken English. He wasn't afraid to begin. So, part 3 of Jack Ma's journey shows us 3 more lessons. First, English gives you access to opportunities you cannot even imagine yet. Second, don't limit yourself to small goals. Dream bigger and let English be the bridge. Third, use English now, even if it's simple, because growth comes from practice, not from waiting. Remember, Jack Ma was not the smartest student. He failed many times. But what made him different was his mindset. He believed that English could connect him to the world, and he was willing to do the work, to laugh at his mistakes, to keep going. That belief and persistence changed his life, and it can change yours too. Emma. There's another important lesson from Jack Ma's story that I want you to notice. Jack was not focused on learning perfect English. He didn't sit down with grammar books all day, worrying about every single rule. Instead, he focused on using English to connect with people. He was curious about the tourists, their cultures, and their stories. English was not just a subject in school for him. It was a bridge, a tool, a way to open doors to the world. And that's something I want you to remember. If you want to really improve your English, stop thinking of it only as a subject to study. Think of it as a tool you can use to communicate, to learn, and to explore. When you change this perspective, your motivation becomes stronger. You're no longer learning English just to pass an exam. You're learning English to connect, just like Jack Ma did. Let me ask you, how often do you actually use English in your daily life? Not just study, but use Jack used English every single morning, talking to tourists. That's why he improved so fast. So here's a challenge for you. Try to create your own version of that daily practice. Maybe you don't have tourists in your city. That's okay. You have the internet. You can listen to podcasts, watch videos, join online communities, or even leave comments in English on social media. The important part is not perfection. The important part is that you are active. You use the language, you play with it, and you make it part of your life. Jack Ma also showed us something powerful: courage. Imagine being a young boy waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going outside to wait for strangers. Most people would feel shy. Most people would feel afraid of making mistakes. But Jack didn't let fear stop him. He made mistakes, yes. He mispronounced words, yes. But he kept going. He understood that mistakes are not failures. They are part of the journey. And this is something I want to remind you of. If you are afraid of making mistakes, you will never grow. Imagine if Jack had thought, my English isn't good. I should just stay home. Do you think he would have become who he is today? Of course not. His success came from his courage to practice, even when he was not perfect. So what can you learn from this start today? Find ways to bring English into your daily life. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until your grammar is perfect. Use what you know, and little by little you'll get better. Jack's story also teaches us about passion. He didn't get paid for his morning practice. He didn't do it because his teacher forced him. He did it because he loved learning, and he loved connecting with people. This passion gave him energy to continue, even when it was hard. I know that many of you sometimes feel tired. Maybe you've studied English for years, but you feel like you're not improving. Maybe you've tried courses, textbooks, apps, but you lose motivation. That's normal. But here's the secret: when you find passion in the process, learning becomes easier. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like discovery. For Jack, English opened the door to the outside world. For you, English can do the same. It can give you opportunities, friendships, jobs, and experiences that would not be possible otherwise. But you need to practice with passion, not just obligation. So think about this. What excites you in English? Is it watching movies? Is it reading stories? Is it traveling? Is it meeting new people? Whatever it is, use that as your fuel. Connect your English practice to something you already love. That way, just like Jack, you'll wake up excited to practice, not forced. And remember, success is not built in one day. Jack practiced for 9 years every morning. He didn't become fluent in 1 month or even 1 year. It was a long journey. But he stayed consistent. That's the final key I want to highlight in this part: consistency. You don't need to study for 8 hours a day. You don't need to memorize thousands of words in 1 week. What you need is consistency. Even 20 minutes a day every day is more powerful than studying for 4 hours only once a week. Jack's daily effort built his confidence step by step. You can do the same. So let's recap the lesson so far. Use English as a tool, not just a subject. Be active. Practice every day, even if it's small. Be courageous. Don't fear mistakes. Find passion. Connect English to something you love. Be consistent. Small daily steps lead to big results. These are the same principles Jack Ma lived by when he was a young boy in Hangzhou. And they are the same principles you can live by to transform your English journey. Jack Ma's journey also shows us that English is not just a school subject. It is a tool for life. He never treated English as something only for passing exams. He treated it as a bridge away to connect with people, a way to open doors to knowledge. Many learners today still think I just need to pass the test. But if you want to achieve something greater, you must look beyond exams. You must see English as a way to change your life. That mindset changes everything. When Jack Ma first started learning English, he didn't have many resources. He didn't have a smartphone. He didn't have YouTube videos like this one. He didn't have online teachers. What he had was curiosity, determination, and creativity. He created his own opportunities. He didn't wait for the perfect environment. He made the environment work for him. That is a lesson you can use today. Many learners think I don't have a good teacher. I don't have money for expensive courses. I don't live in an English-speaking country. Jack Ma had all those same problems, but he didn't give up. He realized that even without money, without travel, without technology, he could still find a way. That is the true secret of his success. He found value in the simple things around him. For example, listening carefully to tourists, repeating what they said, asking questions, and writing down new words. These actions may look small, but they add up over time. Think about your daily life. Where can you find English? Maybe in music, maybe in movies, maybe on websites, maybe even in conversations online. Every small opportunity is like a brick. If you collect enough bricks one day, you will have a strong house. Jack Ma collected bricks every day through practice, curiosity, and persistence. Another important point is that Jack Ma didn't focus on perfection. His English at the beginning was not perfect. His pronunciation was not perfect. His grammar was not perfect. But he continued anyway. He used his English to connect, not to show off. He focused on communication, not on mistakes. That is why he improved so quickly. When you focus too much on being perfect, you stop yourself from speaking. But when you focus on sharing ideas, you give yourself freedom to practice. This is something you can apply immediately. Don't wait until your English is perfect. Don't wait until you finish all the grammar books. Start using the English you have today. Even if you only know a few words, use them. Speak, write, listen, practice. Every time you use English, you grow. That is how Jack Ma became confident. And that is how you can become confident too. Jack Ma also believed in consistency. He didn't just study for 1 month and then stop. He made English part of his daily routine. Day after day, year after year, he practiced. That is why his progress was strong. Many learners start with excitement, but stop after a few weeks. That is why they don't see results. If you want results like Jack Ma, you need consistency. Even if you practice just 15 minutes a day, do it every day. Over time, those 15 minutes become powerful. Another key idea is that Jack Ma turned his learning into something useful for others. By guiding tourists around Hangzhou, he was not only learning for himself, he was also helping people. That made his learning more meaningful. When you use your English to help others, whether answering questions online, sharing knowledge, or teaching a friend, you learn faster. Because now English has a real purpose. So ask yourself, how can I use English to help someone today? Maybe you can translate something for your parents. Maybe you can explain a video to your friends. Maybe you can answer a question in an online group. These small actions make your English more practical. And when learning becomes practical, it becomes powerful. Jack Ma's story proves that success in English is not about being born lucky. It is not about having the best teachers. It is not about living in America or the UK. Success in English is about mindset. It is about curiosity, courage, consistency, and creativity. With those 4 things, anyone can improve. And perhaps the most inspiring part of Jack Ma's story is this: he always stayed positive. Even when he failed, even when people laughed at him, he didn't give up. He kept his dream alive. He believed that English would open doors for him, and it did. One day he went from a boy guiding tourists to a man speaking to the world. And it all began with the choice to learn English every single day. Jack Ma's journey shows us that the path to learning English or any language is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about having the heart to keep going, even when the results are not immediate. He started with almost nothing, no books, no internet, no classes, but he had passion, he had curiosity. And that was enough to create a system that worked for him. Now, let's bring this back to you. Think for a moment. What is your bicycle moment? What is something simple you can do every single day, no matter what, that will push your English forward? Maybe it is listening to one English podcast while you walk. Maybe it is reading a single page of a book each night before bed. Maybe it is writing one short paragraph in English every morning. The action does not have to be big. What matters is that you do it again and again, like Jack riding to the hotel every morning. Here is the key lesson: consistency is more powerful than intensity. Many learners think they need to study for 5 hours straight to make progress. But the truth is, 1 hour a day, every day for a year, will bring you further than 10 hours once a month. That is why Jack's story inspires us so much. He built his English with small, consistent steps. Another lesson is that connection matters. Jack did not learn alone in his room. He went out into the world. He spoke to people. He made mistakes and he laughed at himself. He asked questions. He created relationships through English. For you, this might mean joining an online community, practicing with a friend, or even recording yourself speaking out loud every day. The point is, English is not just about words, it is about people. It is about using those words to connect, just as Jack connected with travelers in Hangzhou. And there is also the mindset lesson. Jack faced rejection many times in his life, Before he became a successful businessman, he applied for jobs and was rejected again and again. Even at KFC, when 24 people applied and 23 were accepted, he was the only one rejected. But he did not let failure define him. The same attitude applied to his English learning. Mistakes were not something to fear. They were something to learn from. If you can adopt this mindset, you will move forward much faster. Let me share a practical way you can follow Jack Ma's example. Start by creating your own English habit map. Ask yourself, where can English naturally fit into your day? Maybe when you brush your teeth, you listen to English audio. When you are commuting, you repeat phrases in your mind. When you are cooking, you watch a short English video. By attaching English to daily routines, you make learning automatic. This is how small steps turn into lifelong progress. Another idea is to find your own language exchange. Jack had tourists. You might have the internet. Platforms, apps, or even social media can give you the same opportunities to connect. The important thing is to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Do not say, "I will practice English when my grammar is better," or "I will speak when I know more words." The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. You become ready by starting. Finally, remember, this Jack Ma did not learn English just to know English. He used English as a tool. It opened doors to new ideas, new cultures, and new opportunities. For you, English can be the same. It can give you better career chances, help you make international friends, or simply let you enjoy movies, books, and knowledge from all over the world. So as we finish this story, I want you to hold on to one powerful image. Jack Ma, a young boy on his bicycle, pedaling through the early morning streets of Hangzhou, carrying nothing but determination and curiosity. He did not know then that one day he would speak on global stages, inspire millions, and lead one of the biggest companies in the world. But he believed in the small steps, and he took them. And now it is your turn. Every time you pick up an English word, every time you practice a sentence, every time you push past your fear of speaking, you are building your own future just like Jack did. Keep riding your bicycle. Keep showing up. And one day you will look back and realize that you too have come further than you ever imagined.